Hi, I'm Don from DonDronesOn. Today we're going to be checking out the Omada Wireless Bridge. So it comes with two of these antennas which basically face each other and provide a wireless Ethernet connection over a long range. And we're going to be checking out that range in a few moments. Now, the TP-Link folks that make this thing have provided this to me for free in exchange for this review. But you'll be seeing an honest review showing all the pros and all the cons. So what the Omada EAP211 kit provides you is a point-to-point Ethernet connection over a long range. And we'll be testing that range in a moment. See, it's weatherproof, so you can have the antennas outdoors, but you can also have them indoors. So in my case, I want to connect a house to a garage. They're only about 30 or 40 meters apart, so 100 feet or so, but too long to string a cable, and I'd have to trench and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to do that. So this provides a wireless connection between those two structures so that I can have a router in the garage or an access point or whatever I want and get full internet connection in the garage. The antennas are fully weatherproof from minus 40 Celsius up to 70 Celsius. They're IP65 weatherproof. They also, the speed of the connection is up to 867 megabits per second, which is incredible. It operates at the 5 gig band. The two antennas are auto pairing, so you basically just set them up and they automatically connect to each other. And we'll be checking that out as well, because that can be a pain in the butt if you have to pair them. So that's all it is. Let's get into it. So here's what comes in your Omada Wireless Bridge Kit. This is the EAP211 Bridge Kit. So there's two of everything, so I'll just show you one for each thing. This is the meat and potatoes right here. This is the actual access module. Very tough plastic. There's LED indicators on the side for signal strength and connectivity and so forth. We'll get into that in a minute. There's a mechanism here to attach this to essentially something rounded, so like a pole. But you can mount this to pretty much anything depending on your talents. There is an access port on the bottom here that gets to the connectivity. So this one here is your power over Ethernet port. So that's where you're going to get your power in. And then there's two output LAN ports. Optionally, if you don't want to use power over Ethernet for whatever reason, there is a 12-volt DC input here. It doesn't come with a power brick for that, but I'm sure that you can order that if necessary. And then over here, there's a small reset button that'll factory reset it for you, and a grounding lug as well. Along the bottom, there are punch outs for cables. Just punch out the ones that you need and leave the rest covered, and that'll keep bugs and things like that out of it. This little cover just slides into place and just clicks in. Yeah, so a nice clean module, very good. And then there are two of these. These are the power over Ethernet blocks. There's AC power here, and they give you a relatively short grounded AC plug that goes into there. And then on this side, there's the power over Ethernet part that connects to your unit, providing power to it, and then a LAN port to connect in. And for installation, they do give you two pairs of mounting straps, little nylon mounting straps, and some the standard screws and wall plugs and so forth if you need to use those. Finally, there are installation guides. The quick installation guide, which is amusingly larger than the actual installation guide here. There's a QR code in here somewhere, there it is, for further details and so on and so forth. But the installation guide is quite reasonable. It provides you with the basic information that you need to know. Speaking of installation, if you don't have something suitable to mount your access points to, there are available mounting kits for mounting these things. You can mount this side of the kit to either a pole or to a wall. You can either take that thing off or mount right straight through it, and it does offer adjustments there. And this particular kit from TP-Link comes with two pipe clamps, the most enormous pipe clamps you've ever seen, two of those, and the ubiquitous little screw kit, and a quick installation guide. So let me just demonstrate how this works straight out of the box. So imagine for a moment that everything on the left-hand side of my little table here is in my house, okay? So I've got my Ethernet coming in here from my home local area network. That's the yellow cable here. And I've got an access point probably attached outside my home, pointing towards the right-hand side of my table. So imagine for a moment that this is in perhaps a garage or a workshop 100 meters away. So I've got a laptop over there, and sadly I cannot get the internet. As you can see, I don't know whether you can read that, but it says this site cannot be reached. I've turned the Wi-Fi off on my laptop just for this demonstration. So in my workshop area, I would have my receiving end access point here. And what we're going to do is show you how to connect the whole thing up. So you plug your power over Ethernet injector into an AC source, and you would do that in the garage as well. And on that Ethernet injector, on the LAN side, there's a LAN side and a PoE side, you plug in your home network. Okay, so my home network is now plugged into this injector box. It's connected to this other port, which is labeled PoE, Power over Ethernet. So I'm using the blue cable here to provide both power and internet connection to the access point here. And this is the main access point as opposed to the other one, which is called the client. So there's a little switch there and it says main. So I take my power over Ethernet cable and put it into this first port, which is in fact labeled Power over Ethernet in. So I put that in there, and as soon as I do that, it powers up, indicates that things are working by shining all those LEDs on full blast. I'm not sure if you can see it. And then sits there with just the system LED. In a moment, once it boots up, the signal LEDs will light up. There we go. Now the signal LEDs on this unit, on the main unit, will always just be full power. So they'll show all 3 LEDs powered up. On the receiving end, it will show your signal strength. So I'm just going to set that aside and point it over in that direction. I'm not sure that the direction really matters in this close quarters, but just for demonstration purposes, this is pointing towards my workshop. So in my workshop, I again plug my power over Ethernet thing into an AC source, and I have my, that's kind of coming apart. I have a blue cable once again. It doesn't have to be blue, but just power is blue in this case. Power over Ethernet port here, plugged into, oops, I had that plugged in. So on this end, I have my power over Ethernet cable, again, plugged into the access port. All the LEDs light up, and in a moment, it will automatically pair to the other access point. Just watching those LEDs. It'll take a few seconds. There we go. So we now have a full signal. Now, I don't know whether it's any worse if I point it away. Nah, I mean, we're so close. This thing has a very large range. So those are always going to be full blast when we're only a couple of feet apart. All right, so now this unit is receiving an internet connection from my house, and so we have a connection here. So we'll take this Ethernet cable, which is connected to my laptop, and you have 2 choices. You can either plug it into the power over Ethernet unit here, which is where I'm going to do it because that's inside my house, or there are ports on here on the access point that you can use. So let me plug that into this port here. And this is going to be inside, so yes, that's the right spot to plug it in. And I'm going to refresh my screen. And fingers crossed, yeah, there we go. So I now have internet in my workshop. All right, and if I take that out again, just to demonstrate that's where it's coming from, it's refreshing, and in a moment it should say, I don't have a signal. There we go. This site cannot be reached. And so as I said, you could theoretically plug this into either of the 2 ports in the access point in the workshop area. So I'm plugging it into that one. And now there's a LAN, what does it say? LAN 2 is now flashing, indicating that we have a connection, and it automatically refreshes, and I have my internet access once again on my laptop. So that's it. That's pretty cool. And like no configuration required, no screwing around with, any settings on anything. The only thing I did on my laptop was turn off my Wi-Fi for this demonstration. So here's my crazy setup for testing this without having to have a permanent installation for each of the 3 tests I've done. So I've got my power over Ethernet coming in out of the window, connecting to the access point, and yeah, works great. So I'm about maybe 75 meters, 80 meters, something like that, from the main access point. You probably can't see it. It's down more or less in line where that satellite dish is. I'll put an arrow on the screen if I can. Here's my weird little remote testing station that I've set up. Got a power supply here providing AC power to 2 of these power over Ethernet injectors. One of them is powering the Omada access point. The other one is driving that access point, which is giving me internet access for my phone. And I've made no particular effort to aim either of the devices, but I'm getting 3 bars on the receiving end here. And when I go to the app, it shows great connection. So that's good too. Yeah, so that's pretty amazing. The speed test came up over 500 meg in both directions, up and down to the other unit here, and that's just measuring the speed between the 2 devices. And yeah, so at about 75 meters without any particularly precise aiming or anything, 500 meg each direction. So now this is the big test. So here's my long range test. I'm going to be trying to connect from roughly there. There's a boat launch over there. It's about 400 meters away from where I am. There's also going to be some fencing and trees and all sorts of other stuff in the way, but it'll be a good test. So yeah, I'm totally impressed. I got over here to the boat launch and set up my little test rig here, and by the time everything was powered up and I pointed very roughly in the direction of the main access point on the other side of the lake there, so about 400 meters away, I got 3 bars. I did a speed test, over 400 meg connection speed, and my other access point is now connected, my Ubiquiti one, and it's showing a solid internet connection. So absolutely amazing. I'm totally thrilled. So in my case, what I want to do is connect the main cottage here to the garage behind me. And what I'd really like to do, and I'll have to test this out to see if it's going to work, is provide that connection without having to drill holes through the walls in both cases to have the antenna outside. So what I want to do is have the antennas inside the buildings pointing at each other and still get a decent connection so that I can have internet in the garage. So my cunning plan is to have the main transmitter in the basement, roughly there, pointing this way towards the garage. That end will be connected to the main router in the cottage. And then the other end will be in the garage up there. Again, inside, ideally right in that window there, pointing in the other direction. So the interior arrangement's pretty simple. I put it as high as I could up into the joists so that it's going through the minimum amount of the foundation. And that's about it. Ran the Ethernet cable, that's the power over Ethernet cable, and all is well. In the garage, the Omada receiver is positioned in the window facing the main building. It feeds its Ethernet connection to a Ubiquiti access point, which in turn broadcasts the internet signal. I got 2 bars on the Omada client with a speed test of over 160 megs. So yeah, the Omada EAP211 kit, it provides you an Ethernet connection over a long range without a whole lot of fuss. I mean, right out of the box, it pairs instantly and it connects without a lot of fussing in terms of setup or alignment or anything like that. I was getting fantastic speeds at long range without aiming particularly. Just point it roughly in the right direction and it connected for me. So, and also it solved the problem that I was after, which was an Ethernet connection from my main building to the garage without having drilling holes through the wall. So the transmitter and receiver are both indoors and it connects and gives me a fantastic connection. So I'd recommend it, the Omada EAP211 from TP-Link. There's links in the description below if you're wanting to check it out. Thanks for watching.